Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and repeat offender on Ron Siegel Radio. Eric Bell is with us. Good morning, Eric.
Thanks for having me, Ron. Appreciate being here.
Glad to have you with us. Let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. Now I'm looking at the celebrations today. There's some interesting ones. National Take a Cruise Day. I didn't even know, why would you have a national day for that one? I just don't understand that one, but I guess
it is what it is.
But I guess if you're on a cruise, from what I understand, I've only been on, I think, one, give or take. And I understand there's a lot of food. Now, obviously, having beaten anorexia and now on the shots that I take, I don't eat a whole lot of food anymore. So I don't know. We don't do the buffets and all that kind of stuff. But today I can get behind this. Again, having beaten anorexia, my favorite cake in the whole wide world, carrot cake. Today is National Carrot Cake Day. Got to have the good cream cheese frosting on there. Carrot cake. And I have a lot of people say, how can you have a vegetable and make it a cake? Just go try it. I promise you, I enjoy it. So today's National Carrot Cake Day. And then, now this one ties in very, very well. Today is National The Day the Music Died Day. I don't know if you watched or not. I certainly didn't. We had the Grammys this weekend, and I know what they're going to say, so why would I want to watch them? And I didn't. Unfortunately, some of the news broadcasts cover way too much of them. And I wanted to send a tweet out to some of these news agencies. We don't want to watch the Grammys. We don't care what these people have to say. So why do you keep giving them all the stage with all of the excerpts from them? But, I'm in the media here doing Ron Siegel Radio. Did you notice again this year, the audience was down another 9%. So the audience keeps on diminishing because these people think somebody cares about their opinion. Now, I did hear an interesting story because, again, I don't pay any attention to these characters. Billie Eilish, though, did you hear her say that you can't be an illegal person on stolen ground? Unfortunately, she's not very smart, apparently. So she didn't look up the fact that her estate, $20 million estate, is on Indian ground. So once again, they're out there talking about what's good for thee is not for me.
You know better than that.
Another one of those stories from the loons out there in Hollywood. When will they ever learn? Now I will say I've noticed recently in the last few elections, the celebrities do a great job. And I'll explain this to you. Why do I say they do a great job? Well, if you think about it, during the last election, you had Oprah Winfrey, and you had, what's the lunatic's name from New Jersey? Springsteen, and several others. They came out all against Donald Trump and all for Kamala Harris. So thank you for what you're doing. You are helping the conservative cause. Really appreciate that. We should give them a round of applause, and I hope they continue doing and be using their platform to prove their ignorance. Let's see what the markets are doing today. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average now down 94 points. S&P 500 is down 312. Wow, that's not going to be so exciting for some people. Ow! The S&P 500 is down 46. Gold, well, I told you that when gold was 5,500, I said, be careful. What goes up so fast can go down just as quick. So gold was at 5,500, went down to about 4,600 yesterday. It's up 290 today. I wouldn't invest your money with it. I would certainly not invest my money. $4,900 an ounce. Again, it's still up. Was 2,700 January of last year. 2,700. Now it's at 4,900. Way too volatile for me. If you want to put a little bit of money in there, you might put that in there. It's probably just a little bit safer than putting it into the Powerball. But that's just my opinion. We're looking at the 10-year Treasury right now is at 4.29, going the wrong direction. Mortgage bonds down 3 basis points. Remember, when the bond goes down, rates go up. Now, just think about it. That 3 basis points means it's not going to move rates hardly at all. But we are in the midst, at least as of the time I went on air, we're still in the midst of this government shutdown. What does that mean, or a partial shutdown? Well, it means that you got a bunch of people that are wanting to pat themselves on the back. They think they're more important than they are. But what does it mean to you and me when we're talking about mortgages and data? Well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, by the way, get everything wrong. Just look at their revisions. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics now, because of the shutdown for one business day so far, now they're going to vote in the House of Representatives to see if they can get the government reopened today. But because of that one day, the job opening and labor turnover report going to be delayed. The big jobs report that's due out this Friday, it's going to be delayed because of one day. So what we will get, private sector data. So we're going to get the ADP number, will be coming out tomorrow. The market's expecting 48,000 new jobs, private sector jobs from ADP. I'm going to tell you, I only think it's going to be closer to 30,000. And again, that's just my opinion. Everybody's got one. Tell me what your opinion is. I'm just going to say that I think 30,000 is probably going to be the number. And that's just going based on ADP weekly reports and watching the way they're tracking. And as we saw from Fed Governor Waller, he thinks that the 2025 number for jobs is going to be zero. No jobs created in 2025 once the revisions come in and we get the real number from the QCEW. So we'll watch all of that. But we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects today, disinheriting the IRS. We like that idea because they want to be in your pocket. We want them out. So we're going to learn some new strategies from our friend Eric Bell on how maybe you can disinherit the IRS legally. We're going to talk about your game plan for buying your first home. And yes, we have the Mortgage Minute, all that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime. At 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, and every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the important stuff, the number you put in your mortgage calculator to figure out what your principal and interest payment will be. Now, we've come out with a suite of calculators. It's beyond amazing. Go to rsrlinks.com/calculators. There's about 60 of them. All kinds of calculators. Should you buy an investment or should you buy a rental property? What does your tax liability look like for the current year? And yes, we've got a calculator in there to figure out your blended household interest rate and your mortgage payment using strictly the loan number that we tell you about as we get from our friends at OBMMI. So what did rates do yesterday? They were on, well, it looks like we got a mixed bag again. Conventional 30-year fixed up 6.092, jumbo 30-year fixed 6.263, that was up. FHA 30-year fixed 5.88, that was down. VA 30-year fixed 5.692, that was up. USDA 30-year fixed 6.035, that one was down. If you want our thoughts about the market, join the Ron Siegel Radio community. It is free to you. Get it by rsrlinks.com/HBOD. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. We put a report on there each and every business day morning as early as the data allows, giving you an idea of what we're thinking about the market for that day. Let's take a look and see what the markets are doing today. Well, we've got the S&P 500 down 56. The 10-year Treasury is up 1 at 4.29. The mortgage bond is down 4 basis points. Remember, bond down, rates up. Unless you have the compression of the spread between the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year fixed rate loan, which we have. It was at like 2.5 about a year ago. Yesterday, when I calculated, it was a 1.89 historic number for the spread between a 10-year Treasury and a 30-year fixed rate loan. That historic spread has been right there at 1.79. That's the number for long term, going back decades and decades. So what's driving all this market? Because all those numbers I tell you, you can get those on the super secret website, google.com, or you can go to the less super secret, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, any of the other AIs that you might want to look at. They're all there, but the why is not there. So what's this driving it? Well, U.S. and India reached a trade deal. Mortgage bonds are trading off of that. Government is currently in a partial shutdown. And I never understood this. Only essential workers are working. Now, if you run a business, if you own a business, you know what you call non-essential workers? Layoffs, because we don't hire non-essential. JOLTS claims and the big BLS jobs report no longer going to be released this week, which means that tomorrow's ADP employment report will be the de facto jobs report for now and will have a greater importance. We hope this shutdown's resolved today, but we'll see. Cotality, they came out with their home price insights for December. While we're not getting a lot of jobs data we expected, Cotality did release some optimistic forecasts about appreciation this year. They released their December home price insights, showing that home values nationwide declined by 0.2%. They also reported that home values are up 0.9% year over year. They forecast that home values will be flat in January, but they will increase by 4.5% over the next 12 months. Wow. Yeah, that's an increase from their already strong forecast of 4.3%. Cotality's chief economist, Selma Hep, said, we're seeing significant departure from the rapid surges of recent years. While the upward pressures on price remains, the momentum has moderated enough to suggest that the market is finally becoming more navigable for prospective buyers, unquote. Clearly, they see more demand this year, with builders not able to react in a timely fashion, causing a rise in home values. They will be different across the country, and areas with tighter inventory will likely see stronger appreciation versus those with a lot of supply. You want to know where your property is as far as value? We've got it for you. It's free. You just have to go to rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. We put in there what your values are, a few different sources. You want to know what the market's like in your area, rsrlinks.com/market report. Got it all right there for you. ISM released their manufacturing index for January, much stronger than expected for the first reading above 50, signaling expansion, first time in a year. All of the components were stronger, but labor remained in contraction. Are you listening to that, Jerome Powell?
Such an idiot.
Yeah,
Such an idiot.
we can't figure that out. While the headline figures were strong, the comments were negative, and the ISM tempered the report by saying that the strength is likely due to reordering in January after the holiday season and ahead of price increases. Nonetheless, bonds sold off on the stronger than expected report yesterday. You got to wonder about some of these companies where they come up with the idea that they're ahead of price increases. Now, what do they think is driving price increases when Truflation is telling us inflation is running at about 1.8%? And they're using real-time data, not the stuff that comes out of the BLS, which is always delayed. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends, rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. So let's get into our discussion for today. And one of the things I love about our discussion of the day, when I can get somebody like Eric Bell to come on the radio show with us and talk about ways that we can disinherit the IRS. Because, it's between the IRS and the state of California, they like taking way too much of our money. And, I wouldn't mind if they took our money and they were good stewards. But they take our money and they waste it. They do these, what is it? I just saw the other day, $20 million that Gavin Newsom has budgeted for to solve homelessness. And the new numbers say we've got 35,000 more homeless people. Where do those billions of dollars go to? But I digress. Let's talk to Eric Bell and let's learn. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Ron. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Tell me, so got some new ideas for us and how we can potentially disinherit the IRS.
Well, we were talking about it before we started today about you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
I look at it another way. We got one tax code, but we got two tax systems.
I love that line.
One for the informed and one for the uninformed.
We like to inform. So
That's right. That's
let's
one
inform
informed.
some folks.
So, there's DSTs out there, Delaware Statutory Trust, a 1031 exchange with their rules, regulations, and requirements. You have the Deferred Sales Trust, which is another form of a DST, which is like a 401k. Every time you pull your money out, you're going to get taxed. And then there's a monetized installment sale, which again is another deferral. This way will help you eliminate the tax the same way you incur it, what I'm talking about.
Interesting. Okay.
So what you're doing is you're basically investing into a hedge fund and sharing in their losses at 10 cents on the dollar. So if you have $1 million capital gain, and that's our starting point, $1 million. If you have $1 million capital gain, an investment from you to get rid of a capital gain on a highly appreciated asset, real estate, business, is 10% of that gain. So $1 million would be a $100,000 investment. And it's more involved than that, Ron. I can't go through it on your show, not enough time. But at the end of the day, it's 10% investment. Your net is going to be about 9.5 after everything is gone. And you don't pay the 32.77% capital gain tax in California.
That's pretty amazing.
It's very amazing.
So you have to have $1 million capital gain.
Correct.
And then you have to put 100,000 into the investment.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens to the other 900,000?
Well, that's the part that gets kind of gets involved.
Oh, okay.
There's some things that offset the other million or another 900,000 that I go through with the client over through Zoom or something of that sort, send them some literature. But that's the most involved part right there. And it all has to be done to keep it IRS compliant, for lack of another word.
So do I have any liquidity, or am I losing all my liquidity of the assets?
At the end of escrow, all your money is yours in your pocket to walk away with and spend it how you wish. Cash is king in the next real estate transaction. And what I'm learning is a lot of the people who own commercial real estate, rental properties, things of that sort, they want to replace the income, but some of them also want to help their children buy houses, help their grandkids go to college, things of that sort. So they have total liquidity of all their money at the close of escrow.
Okay, so what do you, being that I'm sure I'm not going to ask, this question is not going to be something you've never heard before. Sounds way too good to be true.
I would think so. You think so? I mean, when you're getting rid of a tax run, you don't advertise it. It's something that you got to be in the inner circle to learn about. Like I said, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. So if you're not in that group or in that circle, you don't know about it. There's pieces that have to be moved around and things that have to be consolidated together to make it all happen. It's not an easy thing like we're talking about right now. There's 9 steps to the whole process. But at the end of the day, you have full liquidity, money in your pocket. Now, I've been doing it for 23 years. Not one of my clients has been challenged by the IRS or the states that I do business in. And all transparency, in the last 36 years, it's been challenged by the IRS about 11 times in conjunction with something on someone else's return. Not this particular strategy, but they had to address it, and they prevailed 100% of the time on behalf of the client.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it, because there's so many, there's so many different strategies out there.
Yeah.
And when you can find one that has a tremendous success record, that's what you really wanted. So, when it's been around for 30 some years, that means it's not just some fly by night thing that someone just came up with.
Well, and 11 challenges, based on other stuff on someone's tax return, that's a drop in the bucket when you think about that time frame.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the 30 years ago, $1 million was a lot bigger number than it is today.
Oh,
in real dollars.
Big time. Yeah, it was.
Right. So that's another big issue in there. But I want to continue our conversation on this when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. Your game plan for buying your first home. We'll talk about that when we come back. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com. rsrmoney.com. Buying your first home feels impossible right now, doesn't it? High prices, higher rates. Everyone's telling you to wait. But what if I told you the buyers who win aren't waiting for the market to help them out? I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Here's what I see happening. Most first-time buyers are sitting on the sidelines. They're waiting for rates to drop, waiting for prices to come down, waiting for some perfect moment that may never arrive. Meanwhile, the buyers who understand strategy, they're moving forward. They're getting into homes, building equity, starting their wealth journey. So what's their secret? It's not about timing the market. It's about having a game plan. Let me share 4 moves that actually work. First, check and maintain your credit score. I had a young couple come to me last month, mid-600s credit score. They assumed they could not buy, but here's what they didn't know. Improving their scores by just 40 points saved them over $200 a month on their mortgage payment. That's $2,400 a year. Over 30 years, we're talking about $72,000 in savings. Your credit score isn't just about qualifying. It affects your insurance rates in some states, your interest rate, and your overall household expenses. Get a soft credit pull, rsrlinks.com/Sora, rsrlinks.com/Sora, so you know exactly where you stand. Second, look into down payment assistance programs. And here's something that might surprise you. The median first-time buyer puts down 9%, not 20% everyone thinks is required. I worked with a teacher recently who found a local program that gave her $15,000 toward her down payment. She thought she needed to save for another 3 years. Instead, she bought a home in 90 days. According to Down Payment Resource, the average assistance program provides around $17,000, and almost 80% of first-time buyers qualify for these programs. But only 13% actually use them. Don't leave that money on the table. Third, become a certified buyer before you start house hunting. This goes beyond basic pre-approval. It's understanding not just what you can borrow, but what's suitable for your situation, what you're comfortable borrowing, what keeps your liquidity intact. Because here's the thing, your lender might approve you for more than you want to spend. You need to know the difference between eligible and suitable. Visit rsrlinks.com/certified buyer to learn more about this program. And fourth, expand your search. Maybe it's the townhome instead of a single family. Maybe it's a fixer-upper with potential. You're not stuck forever. You're building equity that fuels your next move. When you work with someone who understands strategic debt management, you're looking at the whole picture. How does this purchase affect your safety, your liquidity, and your return? What's suitable for your situation, not just what you're eligible for. Look, buying your first home in today's market takes preparation, but it's absolutely doable when you have the right game plan. Maybe you're not watching the big game at someone else's house next year. Maybe you're watching it from your own living room. If you're serious about buying your first home, let's build a game plan that actually works. Visit rsrlinks.com/FTHB. First-time homebuyer. rsrlinks.com/FTHB to get my complete first-time homebuyer's guide sent directly to you. Then go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps to make sure your financial house is in order before you make your move. Remember, strategy beats rate always, always, always. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation, we are chatting with Eric Bell this morning. We're talking about ways to disinherit the IRS. And for those of you that listen to Ron Siegel Radio for any length of time, you heard Eric's mantra just a little, or motto just a little bit ago, or his intellect telling us about something you've heard on Ron Siegel Radio. And I will be the first to admit that I adopted it from Eric. The concept of having one tax code and two tax systems. I learned that from Eric several years back. And the more I talk about it, the more prophetic and accurate he is. And, you know, it's not just ways that one way to do this. Eric's got a whole quiver, all kinds of arrows in this quiver to help you with that. But Eric, one of the things I wanted to get back to from our last segment when we were talking about this strategy that I've heard you talk about it, I've heard it presented. I know nothing about it, or very little. I guess that puts me with about 99% of the rest of the world.
Correct.
So can somebody use this to try and mitigate capital gains on their primary residence?
Capital gain on your primary residence. The trick with the capital gain on primary residence is you have the $250,000 per spouse exemption.
Right.
So do they meet our minimum of $1 million then? I don't know, but we can always do the math and figure it out. Where I really focus on, Ron, is commercial properties, rental properties, and people selling businesses. That's what I focused on in the past.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, we're in Southern California, so having a property with $1.5 million, $2 million worth of capital gains, not out of the ordinary.
No, it's easy. Coastal properties is very easy. Some inland properties also, in terms of residential. Almost every commercial property has a huge capital gain. Guys who bought it in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now they appreciated several million. So they're looking to get out and not pay those capital gains, and business owners too.
Well, and the irony is, or not the irony, but the fact of it is, a lot of business owners, you know, they're investing every last dollar they have into their business.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really worried about or not thinking about, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And they're going buy a commercial building that's for their business.
Right.
Saying, okay, well, that's going to be my retirement vehicle. And they pay it. They might even pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the time when it's time to go to the next chapter. They close or sell the business. Now they've got this building there, and they don't want to pay the capital gains on it.
Well, and we've done multiple transactions for that same person, the business owner, help them get rid of the capital gain on their business and also the building that they purchased to put their business in. It works out tremendously. They love us.
That's a beautiful thing, right? Because, and now, do you like this better than the deferred sales trust or the Delaware sales trust?
Well, the reason is it's deferred. The key word there is deferred. Delaware sales trust is a deferral. Your money's locked up. You don't really have access. You do get an income flow. The deferred sales trust, it's like a 401k in many ways. Every time you pull money out, you're going to pay taxes. We're talking about eliminating the tax the same year you incur it. And we can do the same thing, Ron, for those high income earners that have K1 distributions of $1 million or greater or 1099 income of $1 million or greater.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing tool.
Oh, yeah.
And so, again, if you want to know more about this, it's pretty simple. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. I know you're driving. I know you're doing other things. You're scrolling. Heck, you might even be. I'm not going to say that you might be sitting on the throne listening to us this morning, but there are people that do that. I know it because we're there. So I give away my phone number all the time. Why do I know about it? No. What I know is the important part. I know Eric Bell's phone number. I know how to reach out to him, and I know how to put you in touch with him so you can take advantage of some of the strategies that he knows, because I'm going to suggest that this is one strategy. Are there others, Eric?
There's several others out there. There's ways to push down the income of an ongoing concern, a business, to push down that 20, 40%. There's ways to do some asset protection planning around an asset to basically get the same result of not paying taxes when you actually sell that asset. It just depends on how long of a runway we have to work with you.
And that's there's the question then, how far in advance of I'm always talking about planning on Ron Siegel Radio,
mm-hmm.
And the idea, and we also know that the vast majority of people don't plan.
That's correct.
So, if somebody gets into a situation that they need to make these changes, how long in advance do they need to talk to you?
We were just talking, Ron. I had a bunch of procrastinators at the end of the year. I did 13 of these in December alone. So these were people who sold an asset in February, March, during the course of the year, but didn't handle or talk to anybody about it. They went and saw their accountant around October 15th when they usually file, and they want to address this capital gain issue. That's when I got a call because they knew someone who knew me who connected us. So
that's a challenge that I see with a lot of the strategies that we talk about. And you tell me if you find the same thing. The vast majority of CPAs and accountants are excellent people at reporting taxes. They're not tax strategists.
Or preparers, correct. They're not tax preparers.
So what happened? Do they understand the strategies that you're talking about?
Well, they do to a certain extent. Where they let their shoulders down is when they understand if it ever gets challenged, the tax attorneys who put this in place will defend it at no additional charge. That's when they relax, because that burden's off them to defend it if it ever gets challenged.
Okay, so that gets them a little more open to listening. Big time.
But they read everything. I mean, I got a 113-page document. Nobody's going to read that.
Right.
I take people through a 4-slide presentation that shows them how the moving parts work, and then they get it. We always want to have their CPA, tax attorney, enrolled agent, whoever advises them on tax involved with this process, because everybody raises their hand not to pay taxes.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that says, tax me more.
Yeah.
And one of the things I chuckle about, because you're always hearing on the news, we got to tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. And you don't hear the rich say anything.
No, because they're not being taxed.
Because they're not being taxed. Right, exactly. Yeah. They're in that group that you talked about earlier. That's the informed.
They're informed. Group. That's it. That's
right?
it.
So when and the tax, and it's all based on them just having a lot of the sense to go and hire strong tax people.
Yeah, it's a combination of tax law. I'm not an attorney, as you know. I'm more of an investment person, insurance person, but it's knowing the tax law and how to couple the proper tax codes together to get the end results. That's it. That's the bottom line.
So when you're thinking about that, are you kind of mixing this in? Well, we'll have to talk about it when we come back, but do you mix this with insurance products, or is it something that you're doing differently? We want to talk about that When we come back, you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. So we've got a lot of people out there right now looking at home equity lines of credit. They're looking at, how do I get access to some of that equity I've had, and maybe look at getting rid of some of the higher interest debts. Well, if you understand how money works, you understand that on almost every loan out there, you're paying interest first. The interest is all front loaded. When you're dealing with the home equity lines of credit or a first lien HELOC, which is what our wealth builder loan is, you're paying principal first. When you pay the principal first, it's amazing how the principal value drops dramatically, and how we're able to get 30-year loans paid off in 7 to 10 years. If you want to understand that better, GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. That's the Borrow Smart segment, again, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com. Continue our conversation. We are chatting with Eric Bell this morning. And Eric is a expert in dealing with alternatives, the 1031 exchange, the DSTs. We've talked a lot about that during the earlier blocks. We are not going to recap. You know, this isn't some of those shows where you listen to the first 10 minutes and they repeat everything over and over again. If you want to hear what Eric had to say, two ways: go and watch the replay. It's on Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel numeral 1 on YouTube, or give me a call at 800-306-1990. If you've got over $1 million in taxable income, either long-term, short-term, capital gains, K1s, if you're worried about that, Eric might be the right solution for you. You'll only know one way, and it's by giving him a call and chatting with him. But I was asking Eric before the break, and obviously I wasn't watching the clock. So what are your thoughts? How do you tie this in with insurance products, Eric? Or is there a tie-in, or is it completely different strategies?
Well, yeah, most of our clients, almost all of mine, Ron, are 60 plus years old. They want stuff that's guaranteed, that lacks volatility. You were talking about the volatility in the markets earlier. I put them in insurance products. There's two case designs for life insurance anyway. There's one for death benefit, usually tied with a long-term care rider. So if you get sick, you get taken care of. But there's also one for cash accumulation. And with the cash accumulation, when you have the minimum insurance wrapper around the cash to have it grow tax-free, so you can pull it out tax-free. And that's the one most people use. You know, it doesn't mess up your Social Security as an additional 1099 or K1 or anything of that sort. And usually when we do that for someone, we can more than get the income they were getting from a from a commercial property, or from a commercial property, or from a rental property. We're just able to go ahead and get that income for them. And they usually have about a third left to spend as they wish, travel the world, do what they want to do. So that's,
you know, what fascinates me is when you look at on the county recorder sites, which most people don't have access to, but it is public record, so you could go and look at it if you wanted to. Who owns the biggest buildings in almost every city? right? It's the U.S. government is the biggest landholder. The Catholic Church, I believe, used to be the next biggest. And then you get to insurance companies.
Oh yeah, they're big time holders of real estate.
Right.
None of them have ever failed, hardly. You know, if they're going to
Yeah.
fail, they usually get absorbed by another one. So it's, you know, nothing ever happens bad to a client who has an insurance policy.
So if you could get the safe and secure investments and having a insurance company being the manager for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's a pretty smart deal, I think.
I think so. You know, you have a floor too in terms of what you can lose. There's no losses. The floor is zero. You may not make money in a given year, but you got the upside on the year when the market is up.
Now that's a fascinating thing. Does that happen with all insurance products, or is that just on specific ones?
Well, with Index Universal Life, that's how that works. You're playing the markets with a floor of zero, but you have upside. There's caps on it. Usually it's like 13, 14%. So you may not, on a 30% year that the market is up, you'll get 13 or 14%. But when you consider that you're not losing money, or you're not down 31% when the markets are down, and you don't have to dig out of that hole, that's a big, I can show people exactly how that works over time and how you benefit.
That's fascinating, because most people don't think about that part of it.
Yeah.
But when you just do simple math, you know, if you have a $1,000 and you lose 25%, now you've got $750. You have to make 33% to get back to 1,000, not 25.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you don't get to the losing part, that 13 as a cap on the top looks a whole lot sweeter.
Yeah.
Again, over time.
You know, and people have 401ks at their job. I'm a strong proponent of that. If you do it up to the match, send the rest of your savings to an insurance product so it can grow tax-free and you can pull it out tax-free. And the good thing about insurance too, if you had 50,000 in there, there's a death benefit tied to it. It's by far greater than 50,000. So if you pass away, death benefit goes to your beneficiary, tax-free, 150, 200,000, and you only put 50 in.
Yeah. And so you're saying that borrow from it. Can you explain that a little bit? So if I borrow from my insurance policy, at what point do I have to pay it back?
Well, you pay it back when you die. It offsets your death benefit.
Ah.
So if you had a cash value, so cash value is growing in an insurance policy. Let's say you had $250,000 of cash value. You were borrowing 100,000 of it. The death benefit on it was $1 million. I'm just using round numbers here.
Right.
And you passed away. That 100,000 that you were borrowing on will be subtracted from your death benefit, and your beneficiaries will walk away with 900,000 net.
So, and you had mentioned before, and I want to reiterate that you're using two different kinds of insurance policies.
Well, two different case designs.
Two design. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it could be the same company or whatever, but one, your goal is for the death benefit, and you're maximizing that. The other, you're minimizing the death benefit to maximize the cash holdings.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay,
so you definitely want two of them, two different types,
two
at a
different
minimum.
policies. Yeah.
At a minimum.
So then again, it goes back to the concept that I've said from probably about 1,000 times, maybe more on Ron Siegel Radio, is it's all about the strategy.
It's all about it, you know, and a lot of people are getting hip to it. You know, stocks and bonds are cool when you're young, but as you get older and you need safety, you need guarantees, you want to count on your serious money being there for you, usually insurance products are the route to go.
Now, I'm going to throw something out because I'm not licensed. I know you are with licensing and insurance, and the regulators like you to be broke. So they want you to have a whole lot of equity in your real estate, which is actually getting you a zero rate of return always.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a negotiable. It's just the mathematics. You always get a zero rate of return on home equity or real estate equity. The regulators aren't going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my belief, my opinion, and I can share it. If you pull money out of your real estate, and it just so happens at some point in time, it gets into the life insurance world, you're going to be making money. Your property is still going to appreciate the exact same amount with or without any leverage. Your insurance is going to appreciate because that's what the insurance companies are there for, is to make money.
Right.
Yeah, so now you've got your money's working for you twice.
Yeah. You know, real estate, most of our clients have made their wealth on real estate. So I don't want to say anything disparaging about that's what they do. That's how they make their money. But when they downshift to more reasonable things as they're retiring and they're looking at their life beyond 70, beyond 80, insurance products are usually what they want. They don't want to be being landlords anymore.
So you get the idea there that, you know, I've talked to thousands and thousands of people, as I'm sure you have, Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about retirement and what they want from their retirement. And, I've never, ever heard anyone put the 3 T's in there: tenants, toilets, and trash.
Yeah.
Right? They've got all these things they want to do in their retirement and their golden years.
Yeah.
I never hear them say, I'd love to have more tenants, toilets, and trash.
No, none of them do. And, I don't want to sound sexist, but a lot of times their wives are driving, what's the next step?
Sure.
And they're done with real estate. They're like, Joe, let's go and visit the grandchildren in Chicago. Let's go travel the world. We only got so many years left. We got more years behind us than we do in front of us. So
Sure.
I want to do some of the stuff that I want to do now. We made the money. Let's enjoy it.
Yeah, my term is that, especially in a week like this, is that you and I are on the 20-yard line.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the red zone.
I keep moving the goalposts though, Ron. I'm gonna keep moving the goalposts.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Keep that moving.
Yeah.
So tell me what else should we be thinking about? I mean, when is the time that you're saying that somebody needs to be starting to look at these different strategies?
Well, I mean, we can only take care of stuff in a given tax year. So if something's happening right now, it doesn't hurt for us to start having the conversation, and we take care of it sooner than later. We want to involve your CPA, your tax professional is involved is working with you, because we want to make sure they fully understand, because they're going to sign that tax return. And also we just, there is no time. We just got to take care of it within this tax year. Like I said, I got a flood, 13 of them in December, because people had procrastinated. Now they had to get it done before December 31st.
Now, let me ask you this part of it. And again, you and I haven't talked about this. Does any of this fit into asset protection?
There are some asset protection strategies that you can use to accomplish the same things. And usually I refer that directly to the tax attorney, because it all depends on the partnership, how many people are in it, the type of structure you have. There's several questions he has for you, and wants to look at your past tax returns before he can put it together for you.
And what about the idea of using this for, I guess it's not really key man, but you got a partnership and something happens to one of the partners, you want to take care of their family.
Well, that's key man insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, we do key man. I do key man insurance also. That if a lot of people don't want to be in business with the person's husband or wife because they just don't know the business, and this is a way to buy out that other partner, and they walk away, and now you're the sole owner of the business.
And that makes a lot of sense, because it becomes very difficult when you've built a business with an individual,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've got another individual that's hasn't been involved.
No.
10, 15, 20 years down the road, and everyone's got their own ways of doing things.
Yeah, they sure do.
Right. Especially if one of the partners has just passed, and the other individual will probably be very, very risk averse.
Well, and to that point too, when someone's cashing out their business, say they're both alive, we can always bifurcate someone out of the strategy and let them pay taxes if they don't want to get rid of taxes.
So
yeah.
One person taking advantage of disinheriting the IRS doesn't have any influence on the other person that wants to inherit the IRS.
Does not, because we're dealing with their percentage of ownership.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of great information in there. And, I know I listened to a presentation on this at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not something that I was, and I talk a lot about these things. So it's not something that I was able to, assimilate or internalize 100% in one brief presentation.
No, when you see it, Ron, it's like spaghetti on a plate. You got to see it a couple times before you can make sense of it. And we're never in a rush. Like I said, if we did something right now, we got the whole year to talk about it, figure out, make sure it's right for you. So
you spend most of your time being the educator.
That's what we do. We educate, expose, and execute on behalf of people.
Okay, so we don't want to talk about you exposing yourself, Eric. That'll cause problems.
No.
But
we expose them to different strategies.
There
Ron.
we go. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay, so if you want more information, you want to learn how to disinherit the IRS using the IRS's rules. That's the key thing, is you're using the IRS's rules. If you want to learn about this, give me a call at 800-306-1990. Eric Bell, Bell Insurance Solutions. He's the man, and I know how to put you in touch with him. So just give me a call. Again, 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with Eric Bell. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.